So the Philadelphia Union doubled up this week. Well, last week. 2-1 win against Columbus. 2-0 blanking of Sporting Kansas City on Saturday night. We're here to talk about it. Brian Wright is here. I'm Adrian Fedque. Let's get right into it. 2 W's, 2 big wins. What are your thoughts about them? Victories.
Two important wins for the Union last week. We said in the previous show that they're going to stay in the race for the conference title, that you needed to get, I think I said you needed to get at least 4 points. Well, they certainly did better than that, getting a nice road win against Columbus, which I thought was going to be a draw, but Columbus isn't very good. So I thought that was going to be a draw, and I thought they were going to easily handle Sporting Kansas City, which they did. So you could say they kind of outperformed themselves a little bit, but definitely 2 big wins to get them back into the race for the Eastern Conference title.
All right, let's get to Alejandro Bedoya immediately. This is what the casual fans, this is who they want to talk about. So you're in evaluation mode right now. What did you think of his 2 performances in these games?
I'm a bit surprised. I think he went 90 minutes in both games, which is a bit unlike Jim Curtin. I didn't think Jim Curtin would leave him out there for 90 minutes in both games because he's still sort of in preseason mode from his time over in Europe. But I think he's, again, we've said this repeatedly, but he's quietly effective at staying in front of the back four, helping out on the defensive side, but also getting forward when he feels he can. I think he's getting a little bit frustrated having to play next to Warren Creavalle in that defensive midfield because Creavalle is a converted defender, and he plays hard, but he's kind of boneheaded. He'll get forward without making some sort of communication to Bedoya, or Bedoya will go forward, but Creavalle doesn't want to stay back, so then you end up with gaps that can be exploited. But, Bedoya does his job really well. When he stays in front of the back four and links play and makes sure that the gaps don't appear so they can be hit on the counterattack. I think he would like to get forward a little bit more. He hasn't really been doing that. So I think maybe perhaps once Brian Carroll comes back, who is more of a true defensive midfielder, once Brian Carroll comes back from his groin injury, you're going to see Bedoya getting forward a lot more.
All right, let's just further talk about Creavalle. How much do you think he limits his production? Like, how bad is he? Obviously, he's bad. I mean,
I don't want to say he's bad because he's a professional player and they're not, but he's out of position, which limits Bedoya's ability to get forward. And if you've watched Bedoya play in Europe, he's very good in that number 8 spot where the Union have him, but he also can play the 10. He also can play out wide. He'll basically play in any of the attacking spots that he's asked to. So while he can excel at that number 8, I think his inclination is wanting to get forward, and having a defensive mid partner with like Creavalle doesn't help because Creavalle is not that smart. He plays hard, like I've said, but he makes poor reads. He doesn't pass particularly well. He causes the Union problems defensively because he goes into tackles a bit wild, and then the opposition ends up with free kicks, which then we have to defend. And if you've watched the Union over the past, 7 years, their entire franchise history, they're not very good at defending free kicks, set pieces, or corners. So Creavalle is a liability in that sense, in that he puts the Union net in trouble.
Gotcha. All right. By the way, it's okay to say someone's bad. Nelson Aguilar, he's bad. Can't catch a fucking ball.
But we can't cut him, can we? Because he's a first-round pick.
Well, it's more because of the dead money, because it would cost the Eagles $7 million against the cap. That is why he's still on the team. But moving on. All right, so the Union now, they have 40 points, 3 points out of first place. And while you don't want to root for an injury per se, out of anybody from, whether it's Tony Romo or, in this case, Sebastian Giovinco, he's out for a month. So can the Union catch Toronto? Is it going to happen?
I honestly, I wouldn't. If you had asked me that last week, or if you had asked me that after, I believe that was last week, after the Toronto loss, I would have said I don't think the Union will catch Toronto because they kind of showed in that Toronto game that despite the fact that they played pretty well in that game, that they weren't quite ready to hang with the big boys, Toronto being the team in particular. But now that Giovinco got hurt, well, like you said, you don't want to root for somebody to get hurt. He got hurt in their loss to 10-man Montreal Impact on Saturday. I believe he has an adductor strain and a hamstring strain, so he'll be out for a month. And that opens the door for the Union to slide up into that first-place spot. They've got Chicago. The Union have Chicago this coming weekend. Chicago sucks ass. They're the worst team in the Eastern Conference. So you're looking at, if the Union go to Chicago this weekend and take care of business and Toronto falters, you could be looking at a first-place Union team by the end of next weekend.
Nice. And again, for like casual fans that don't watch the MLS on a regular basis, explain how important of a piece Giovinco is. When I was watching the Toronto game, some of the announcers were saying that he might even be the best player in the league.
He is unbelievable. He's I think he's 27 or 28 years old. If you watch him play, look, you see how he's only like 5'4", 5'5". So his nickname there is, I think they call him the Atomic Ant, which is kind of cool. But he has an unbelievable European pedigree. He played for Juventus in Serie A in Italy. He left Juventus in his prime, like I said, mid-20s, late 20s, leaves Juventus in his prime to come to Toronto FC. Now, they're paying him a boatload of money, so that's part of the reason. But you have to give credit to MLS to lure a European star like that to MLS. Now, this guy, he led the league in goals last season. He was the MVP of the league in his first year in MLS. He just tore it up. He beat the Union single-handedly at least once last year with a free kick from about 35 yards out, which was just unbelievable. He makes unbelievable runs. The guy has an incredible soccer sense. I'm not really sure how else to put it. He's just almost leaps and bounds better than probably 95% of the league.
Gotcha. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about Roland Alberg a little bit. Had a great game on Saturday night. That one goal where he turns and fires it into the upper 90, like 5 yards outside the 18-yard box. That was a thing of beauty. Talk about his play on Saturday. Just unbelievable game from him. When the Union signed Alberg in the offseason, I'd be lying if I told you I knew who he was. But that is the genius of having a Ernie Stewart at the helm. Because Ernie Stewart, as we've talked about before, Ernie Stewart spent plenty of time working for AZ Alkmaar in the Dutch Eredivisie, and he knew of Alberg from his time in the Dutch league. He brings him over. He actually struggled to get some playing time early in the season, and then was inserted into the starting lineup after Vincent Nogueira left. When he left, when he was put in there after Nogueira left, he was on fire. He scored, I think, 5 goals in 4 or 5 starts. But then he kind of cooled off, and he's kind of settled into this. He's settled into this super sub role, and he's been excelling at it. He plays hard and angry, but he also plays smart, which is what you want from a guy coming off the bench with 20, 25 minutes to go to give you a spark. He would be a starter on probably every other team in the league. And as you saw from the goal that he scored on Saturday, the guy's got some serious skill. He collects the ball at the edge of the box there, turns and lets one rip from 25 yards away, and it goes upper 90. I mean, you're not going to find too many players in MLS that are capable of that. Yeah, no, that was a lovely goal. A little twirl, little back in the onion bag. Awesome. All right, let's talk about the rookie class. Herbers, Rosenberry, they scored both goals against the Crew, the 6th and 3rd overall picks, respectively. Just how important have they been to the team so far? I mean, they've been bringing it. I think the youth movement for the Union this year has been one of the defining reasons why the team has been successful. I know over the past few years, the significance of the MLS Super Draft, I don't know why they had that, but the MLS Draft is dubbed the Super Draft. Now, because you have the international transfer windows in the winter and summer, the MLS teams are active there. You have a lot of teams now have their own academies, so they just sign homegrown players. So a lot of the emphasis has been taken out of the Super Draft. But I think this year you can see that it's still a valuable asset if you know what you're looking for. If your team has a defined identity, which the Union have under Ernie Stewart, they knew exactly who they wanted, and those guys have been excelling. Herbers
played at Creighton, a young German international player, played at Creighton, has been outstanding out on the wing there. He's not quite ready for a target forward role, so they have him out on the wing. But he's excellent out there. He runs well. He gets behind his defenders. He provides good service. Rosenberry was, I think, projected to be a little bit further down. I think when the Union were picking at number 3, the consensus was that they were going to take Brandon Vincent. But the Union had some prior knowledge on Keegan Rosenberry because he played at the Union Academy. So they could have they wanted to sign him as a homegrown player, which would have meant they wouldn't have had to use a draft pick on him. But they knew what they had because he played for the Academy team, so they used that number 3 pick, and he has played every minute of every game this season at right back. Nobody else in MLS can make that claim. That's how good he's been, and he's a rookie. And he should win Rookie of the Year. Unless he has a precipitous drop-off the last 5 or 6 games of the season, he should win Rookie of the Year. Now, if we do a show after the season and Jordan Morris wins Rookie of the Year because he's more marketable out in Seattle, I'm going to throw shit fit, just so you know.
That'd be fucking great ratings right there.
But Keegan Rosenberry deserves Rookie of the Year. And unless he breaks his leg, knock on wood, he should win it.
Okay. All right. Something I just thought of because we didn't have this in the pre-show. But Charlie Davies, obviously the big acquisition from the New England Revolution. I saw a little bit of him on Saturday night. What are your thoughts on him? Bringing that, what is he bringing to the table?
I like Davies. You have to root for the guy. He's had a lot of shit happen in his life. He was a young, up-and-coming star. He was going to be a star. He had a horrific car accident in 2009, which I believe killed 3 out of the 4 people that were in the car. He survived. And he actually because of the accident, one of his legs is shorter than the other one. So he can't run. He still runs okay, but he can't run like he used to. And then this year, he actually overcame a cancer diagnosis. So he's had a lot of stuff in his life, and it's hard not to like the guy and root for the guy. But on the field, he is a perfect sub for CJ Sapong, because Sapong's your starter. But if they go a different route, you have Davies you can bring on, who basically plays that same kind of role as Sapong does. He gets behind the defense, but he also holds the ball up really well and allows your wingers in Chris Pontius and Herbers to run off the ball and create chances. So, again, having that depth, Ernie Stewart has said multiple times during the course of this year that they want 2 deep at each position. Davies is a fantastic depth guy to have, and he's a great character guy to have in the locker room.
Maurice Edu is coming back soon. Going to have some time with Bethlehem Steel before he gets called up. Kind of asked this question before, but for new listeners to the show, what does he bring to the roster?
So Maurice Edu, when Maurice Edu is healthy, he is likely going to be the captain of the team. He hasn't played all season because of a stress fracture in his leg, which is a pain in the ass. But when he comes back, he'll take Krival's place next to Bedoya. And Krival will go back to the bench, and you'll have 2 defensive midfielders in Maurice Edu and Alejandro Bedoya, both of whom have extensive experience in Europe and with the U.S. national team. So in the Union's 4-2-3-1 formation, you're looking at Bedoya and Edu and Barnetta at the 10, Pontius and Herbers, or Pontius and Ilsinho. Like I've said before, that is a potentially MLS Cup winning midfield. But to go back to Edu, the guy is your consummate number 8 box-to-box midfielder. He plays hard. He plays smart. He doesn't go into wild challenges like Krival, but he gets forward and he can win balls in the air on set pieces. He makes driving runs toward the box and gets open for goal. He's exactly what you want in that number 8 defensive mid spot. It's just a shame we haven't seen him at all this season.
Yeah. All right, so that about wraps it up here. Any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I'm glad that the Union have shown the ability to bounce back there after a tough loss against Toronto. Like we said last week, after you lose that game to Toronto, the confidence might be dented a little bit, but coming up with 2 wins is humongous. And now you've got a bit of a fortune or misfortune on Toronto's part that you can come back and potentially leapfrog them this weekend, or at least tie them on points. So I think that we're heading into the final month and a half of the season, and they're in prime position to win a conference title and potentially have a first-round bye. So all is well in Union Land right now.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And I got some exciting news from my front. So I am going to be spending a day with the Union. I'm going to be training with the team I'm going to be part of, basically PhillyInfluencer.com is going to send me to do it. And I can't wait for that. I haven't exercised in months, so it's going to be a nice little workout.
Gotta head over to Angelo's, right? Get your socks and your shin guards and some boots, and you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I think they're going to provide me some cleats, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to get a shirt, I'm going to get some cleats, get some food. Yeah, so I'm going to be learning some tactics and some skills with Alejandro. Can't wait.
Every time he scores a goal now or does something positive, they should just yell that in the stadium.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to start a trend. It's going to happen. Absolutely. All right. For Brian Wright, I'm Adrian Fedke. Can't wait for that trading. Oh, I'm going to try to get some videos for that, for the Bitterbirds. With that being said, we are out. Later. Deuce.